What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs have signed Lindy Waters III to a one-year contract. Now, he is a very versatile 6'6", kind of shooting guard, small forward type, small ball maybe. You can kind of throw him at the 3 if the Spurs run that. I don't know how much they'll run that, but if you wanted to, kind of throw him at the 4. But he's a guy that has that versatility to defend 1 through 3, kind of seeing glimpses of it with the Warriors. He wasn't a guy that got like super heavy rotation minutes, and like when he did, he was even kind of inconsistent in that. It was like, the Warriors would play him and then, he would get substantial minutes, and then he would just not play at all. It was just a little all over the place as far as like the production and opportunities that he got. But in the moments that he got, right, he was a real bright spot. He really showed some promise in several ways. And, you could look at this as just kind of like a roster filler, a guy that can come in, fill a role, right? You kind of look at the Spurs roster, it's like, okay, what do they really need? Right? Do they really need anything? He's 27. He'll be 28 in a couple days. So again, he's a guy that comes in, has some experience, a veteran. Right? I've talked about, should the Spurs kind of go the youthful route or should they go kind of the more veteran route? It's kind of like in the middle. Right? This is like a guy that's on the right side of 30, has a couple years in the tank, but the problem is just the amount of production that he's gotten and the inconsistencies, right? Like even last year for Detroit, he played 14 games. For the Warriors, he did play 38 games, 52 games total. But he's had his good and bad moments. However, I don't personally understand this signing, if I'm being honest. Like I get he's, a proven NBA player, right? He still might have a little upside. He might be a guy that can be good. Like I said, he's had some moments. He's had some bright games and stuff. But, like, where does he fit in? I understand he's, like, the 14th guy on the roster. But, like, that's why I've talked about. I'd rather you just bring in a, like, veteran that can be sort of a mentor, step into, like, a mentor role. Give you some production out there. But really just kind of, like, can you get a guy that can kind of help maybe some of the big men or some of the guards or whatever, right? Like something like that, or go take a flyer on a young guy, right? I've talked about like an Imani Bates, right? 6'9", proven 3-and-D kind of wing guy that just needs an opportunity and a chance to kind of thrive and play, right? Like, can you take an upside chance on somebody like that? Like, I would have rather them bring in David Jones-Garcia on the main roster rather than Lindy Waters the third on the roster, right? And then use that two-way spot to bring in somebody else that you might be interested in, right? Like, Lindy Waters is a question mark, right? Like I said, he is proven on an NBA level, but he's a question mark, right? David Jones-Garcia, I would have rather is a question mark at an NBA level, but I'd rather, like, the guy that you're looking at that's 23 that may end up being an integral part to your roster long-term, I'd rather you bring that guy in and see what he could do rather than bring in Lindy Waters and see what he can do. And again, how much is he going to play? Because like the last thing they need is like another 6'5", 6'6" guy. If he was like 6'9", I'd be like, okay, I get it, right? He's big, he's long, he's versatile, right? But he's basically another 2 or 3, which the Spurs are flushed at, right? I mean, you not only have Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, right, that can play either spot. You have a Harrison Barnes, right? They can play the 3, Carter Bryant, Julian Champagnie, right? Like the list goes on and on for guys that can play the 2 or 3. And that's not counting Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, right? Like what are they going to do with those guys? Are they starting? Are they coming off the bench? Well, Keldon Johnson coming off the bench, but Devin Vassell, is he starting? He's coming off the bench. And then you add in another guy that would slot into those roles when you have like 8 guys that can play either spot. So to me, it's like, okay, if you're going to have if it's just the 14th guy, right? Like, I'd rather you bring in somebody that can maybe have an impact in other ways, other areas on the basketball court, right? Or off the basketball court, right? Like you bring in that veteran that can be a mentor, that can help, be a good, locker room guy, kind of be that veteran presence for you. If you need him in a pinch, he can come in, step in and play that role. Or you go and you bring in, like I said, that really young upside guy. Right? Bring in a David Jones-Garcia, bring in an Imani Bates, bring in one of these young guys that need an opportunity to prove themselves and see if maybe you can catch fire or find that gem with them, right? Like Lindy Waters, like him being 28, which isn't like old, right? But by NBA standards, it's like he's supposed to already be in his prime. Right? Like he's probably closer to his ceiling than he is his floor. And I understand that the Spurs have a lot of kind of upside players already. They have a lot of guys that, that you want to kind of progress. And, Lindy Waters might be a guy that comes in and isn't going to complain about minutes or anything like that. He just wants to be on a roster. But still, it's just like, I feel like you could have used that spot in other ways, better ways, personally. It's just my opinion. Of course, I always want to hear yours down in the comments. But let's get into like what Lindy Waters provides. So last year in total between Golden State and Detroit, and then I'll kind of break it down, but 52 games, 9 games started, 15 minutes per game. He actually averaged 17.2 with the Warriors and 8.8 with the Detroit Pistons. But he was 36.9% from the floor, 34.4% from three-point range on 3.6 attempts. He's a career 36.6%. He was almost 40% on 3 attempts with Detroit. So if he can be that, because with the Warriors, he was 33%. If he's 33%, that's an issue, right? Because the Spurs already have shooting woes. I would have rather them bring in like a Cole Schweider, who was like the best shooter in Summer League, and see if he can do something, right? Like, because like the biggest kind of standout for me for the Spurs is the lack of three-point shooting. Like, I'm genuinely concerned with that. Right? Wemby isn't a lights-out three-point shooter. Maybe he gets there this year, but he can be streaky. Harrison Barnes probably your best three-point shooter. Julian Champagnie was lights out, and then he started to average out. Right? Like Stephon Castle, De'Aaron Fox, like all these guys, Dylan Harper. Right? These aren't guys that are known for like their three-point shooting. So now you're adding in a Lindy Waters, who again isn't known for his three-point shooting. Could end up being a little bit of an issue. Like I said, he can shoot the ball. He's had some good seasons, right? He had a season with OKC where he was 36.3% on 6 attempts. So again, maybe there's something there. And then with OKC, he was 43.5% on 2.2 attempts. Small sample size, but still. So there is the potential there. But again, it's just like if he gives you the Golden State run, it'd be a little bit of an issue. However, 2-point range. He was 1.5 attempts, 44.4%, EFG of 50%, and that was between both teams. Free throw shooting, didn't take a ton of free throws, 0.2 attempts, so very small, 72.7%. 2.1 rebounds, 1 assist, half a steal, half a block, and 5 points per game. Again, like, he's not bad. I don't not like him. I don't think it's like a terrible, like, I'm not like, oh, like, what is San Antonio doing? I just don't, like, I don't know why. Again, it's just like, where does he fit in? Where does he slot in is my point, right? Like, I don't think he really fits or slots in on this team, on this roster. And I personally would have liked to see them maybe use that roster spot for either a better upside guy or a better kind of veteran guy, personally. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.